All right, there's one of our styles.
Oh, yeah, that's Warner Creek.
And this is the one we did on Warner Creek. And I think that's the first one in May that we did over there. Anyway, I got a note from Duke recently, and he said somebody asked him what the acronym PUSH stood for. And he said he thought he heard banjos playing in the coolies here. But I wrote him back and said, it stands for please use sharp hooks. So there's the style. This area, there's a spring here that keeps this swinging gate elevated and closes it. And then there's a cable here from here clear out to there to support it. And there's a hinge back on this corner. You come in, you push on that to get open, you set one leg over, you sit your butt on that and swing through, and it automatically closes behind you so the calves can't get out. It's blocked. It only opens one way, so the calves can't get out by pushing through. That was the big deal that we had to come up with to make it open for big enough people to get through.
Is that spec on the bottom there for the Bob Becker, Scott?
Yep.
Rod,
It's specifications, Bob.
Right.
No, this is on Warner. Okay, let me go back to the next picture, if it'll come up. There's the one we didn't install. We just left there, and
Oh, yeah.
too straight, but yeah, I hope they get it straightened up before they finish up. They don't look like they have the wires hooked up on it. This is the other end of Warner Creek that in that new project. Okay. No, don't want that. We want that. This is what that area looked like before they started. This is back in 2016, I believe, and more of it. This is how it was. This is 2016 in March. You can see how the banks were eroding and tumbling into the stream, and things were not going well. I'm going to show you a couple more here, and I think this is not the one I want to pay attention to, but you can see this was the cut, and it's along the cornfield. So here's the cow path, and then that's where the cow fell in when the bank gave way. So the farmer wanted some work done. Now, here's a video, and let's hope it plays. This is done by a drone, and this is what it looks like now. You can see a lot of riprap on these bends. There's a lot of nice riffles in here and riffle pool sections. This was done in the beginning of the month, November.
Is this going upstream or downstream, Jerry?
I believe we're going up.
Okay.
And there's a lot of crop circles out here, of course. And this is where they've tapered that bank that used to be steep into a 3-to-1 ratio across here, so that when the flood comes out, it spreads out along that whole area. This is the highway. That's how close it gets to it. And they also cut down the banks here so that if the water's coming in too fast, especially in this corner, it can come right up over those peninsulas. There's in-stream rock that we put in. Here's a crossing. You can see the riffles. So that, yes, definitely we're going upstream. These are in logs that were put in the bank. They're embedded, and they make pools of depth underneath them by the current. And it takes a little while, of course, but it happens.
Well, that's a good spot right there by them by the concrete over there.
Marcus fished this.
That's good, right in there, Jerry.
Here's a little side stream coming in. This is kind of curious. That's coming in there. We're going to go clear around this bend and notice the slopes.
Well, they really cut that back, didn't they?
They really have cut it back and done a lot of rock work on the sides.
That's a nice pool right there.
Yeah. this whole peninsula sticks
Lots
out.
of, lots of good bends in there.
It is just snaky back and forth the whole way. And now here's that little side stream. It's just this little isthmus of land. I wonder how long that's going to last before it breaks through. That's one thing. Here's the other bend right up against it. And we're almost out of video here, but this is neat. This
Yeah,
is,
that's good there too. You can fish both sides from one spot there.
yeah, get in there, the little island. So that's it. And they worked. So they did do it. And we're going to stop the share. Okay. And how are we doing? And did Jeff get back? Anybody?
Yeah.
I think he just joined in again.
On page 2. No, he's on page 2.
Page 2.
Scott Lammers, has Jeff been asking to get in?
No, that is no.
Now, can you hear me okay?
There he is.
There you are.
One of the grandchildren threw one of the blocks behind the TV and it hit the power switch on the router and I had no connection. I'm gonna shut the door. It's still...
Yeah, glad to have you back, Jeff. So let me introduce you formally. This is Jeff Hastings. He's a project manager for TUDARE. He works the whole Driftless area and Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa. All the projects, Jeff coordinates everything. And we just looked at the Warner Creek video that I got from, not you, but that my mind went blank. Who sent that to me? Whose project was Warner Creek, Mark? Jeff?
Paul?
Oh, McCoy.
That was McCoy property.
But, actually, Paul did all the work on it.
Huh?
Paul Cron did all the.
I'm looking for,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Paul sent that to me. And it's a nice drone video, so it worked out nicely.
Yeah, we've got the drone footage figured out how to use the drone and so forth, but we haven't been very good at been able to put stuff together with it. You know, the music and all the
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that. So we're collecting a bunch of drone footage this winter with the idea that hopefully sometime we'll get a chance to kind of goof around with it.
Yeah, I hummed all through the drone. So
Did you? Yeah. Yeah, we'll work on that a little bit.
Yeah, that looked cool.
Yeah. You know, I've got a PowerPoint. It's not more, it's really, I would like to try to, I do these Zoom meetings all the time and so that they can get kind of old. So I'd like to kind of keep it as much as a two-way conversation as we go along here. You know, so if you have a question, by all means, just stop me and let's try to make this interactive so nobody falls asleep kind of a thing. So there we go. So I just wanted to kind of go through some staff changes and some, we've added new staff and so forth. Duke, as you know, been working with us a long time. He's worked with your chapter and continues to work on a part-time basis. He's probably going to work 8 to 10 hours a week is what he's shooting for. His main focus is on the Kinney River, on the dam removals on the Kinney. But he'll still work with the different chapters on styles and things like that. But he's trying to cut back on his hours. Paul, as you know, does our stream work. This is a little footage I did on Citron Creek, flying the drone. I tell you, the doggone drone I could not hold the drone as still as it as what it can fly. But Paul continues to. The reason we really got Paul was to kind of work with different conservation groups, counties and federal offices. We've got 42 offices in the Driftless area. So the idea was that we would not be doing the projects ourselves, although Paul did 2 this year, one on Citron Creek, this one here, and the Warner Creek project. But really what we're trying to do is build the capacity of other chapters and other county field offices to do projects. For example, Monroe County to the north of where I'm sitting here tonight They did 4 miles last year. They've got the staff capacity, and so all they needed was the financial resources. And so we went after some federal grants, and they were able to do that. Our newest TU member is Dustin Hoffman, not the actor. He spells it a little different. I don't know how Dustin Hoffman's, the actor, spells his, but this is a little different. Anyway, he was with the Fish and Wildlife Service. He is going to be working in Southeast Minnesota. Minnesota has designated sales tax for habitat. Half a percent sales tax that generates $88 million a year. And so we're on phase 13. John Mancheski, the Minnesota Executive Director, and myself have been administering the grants and working on the projects. And we've accumulated over $24 million for stream restoration just in Southeast Minnesota, mostly just Southeast Minnesota. But it's getting to be too much of my time and John's time. So Dusty, he's going to take over this as much as he can. He's kind of going back and looking at the 40 miles that we've already installed. He's setting up some timber plans along the riparian corridor. He'll be doing the outreach and so forth. And he'll be primarily funded, probably 95% funded through the Outdoor Heritage Program. What a program that program is over in Minnesota. And it was just too much of a program for John and I to kind of do on the side, and too good of an opportunity. So we just hired Dustin back in July, and he'll be full-time working on that. I was talking about funding. Probably the primary funding source that we use as a baseline funding for projects in the Driftless, especially in Wisconsin and Iowa, is Farm Bill dollars. We call them EQIP dollars, Environmental Quality Incentive Program dollars. And every year we have to compete for these dollars in the counties, if they want to do dams, waterways, all these different things. And so stream restoration projects, sometimes they do well and sometimes they don't. But it's a competition for not a lot of money that's available in the Driftless. Probably nowhere else in Wisconsin do as much conservation gets done in the Driftless because of our rolling topography. We use every conservation practice. So we were always competing for these Farm Bill dollars. So back in 2016, I wrote called a Regional Conservation Partnership Program grant. And the idea was to bring in these EQIP Farm Bill dollars and use them just for stream restoration, cold water restoration. I was successful, and I got $2.9 million. And so far that those dollars are almost exhausted. We've developed 60 contracts. It's contributed to almost 63 new miles of restoration. So it was really a big boost and a very successful program. So the idea is to get chapters, even the state fish habitat crews like the DNR, to use this Farm Bill dollars as part of their projects. For example, we've got 3 fish habitat crews just here in Wisconsin with large equipment. And they have in the past been using trout stamp dollars for their stream projects. But trout stamp dollars have not really increased all that much in the last 10 years, but expenses have. So the idea is to have them work with a landowner to sign up for these Farm Bill dollars and pass them through to the DNR. And then the DNR would use their trout stamp dollars to cover what would normally be the landowner's share. And so, the La Crosse office has probably already used about $1 million of these Farm Bill dollars for projects. And Paul's working on a Bohemian Valley project next year that they'll do. So we use it as a baseline funding. And chapters like the Nord chapter has been doing this for years, on the Blue River. They had the farmer sign up for the Farm Bill dollars. It gets the chapter uses that for 75 or 80% of the cost of the project. And then they raise money, and I know they get money from different chapters in Chicago to contribute to their projects. And that covers what would normally have been the landowner's share. So works out really good. we've got a perpetual easement. The farmer is getting 100% project paid for because he's got an easement. We use Farm Bill dollars then to almost quadruple what we normally would have done in the past. And so the program has worked so well that, and back in about 2018, I went after another regional conservation partner, called it Phase 2. I always have the saying of go big or go home. And so I asked for $9.2 million, thinking that they would come back and say, come on, Hastings, be more realistic on your amount here. But I'll be darned if they didn't give me the whole $9.2 million. So we have $9.2 million for cold water restoration. Not all for cold water restoration. NRCS takes off actually a little over $1 million of that for technical assistance for their staff to help administer the program. But the rest of the money is for cold water restoration, and it's for all those aspects of stream restoration. So like stabilizing the banks, the seeding, the fencing, the mulch, the habitat we put in stream. All these Farm Bill dollars pay for about 75% of the cost of the project for that individual project. And then we got about $250,000 for technical assistance to put towards Paul's hourly rate. So whenever Paul works on an applicant that has signed up for RCPP, we get reimbursed hour for hour salary and benefits for Paul to work on the project. It's going real well. So far, Wisconsin, I'm just working on my annual reports this week for NRCS. Wisconsin has already got 60 contracts of this new Farm Bill signed up, about $2 million, and has about $1.8 million left. And just a couple of signups. They've done really well. They always do really well. Illinois was in a major transition with staff, state engineer, state biologist. So the first 2 years they did not start implementing the program. They are taking sign up this late fall, early year for projects in Northwest Illinois. Now we don't have, we have, it's debatable whether we have cold water streams, but I know we have streams that would support trout. So we did focus on cool water streams, thinking, if we can ever get a brown trout program going, or it would at least help the smallmouth bass or whatever. But so we do have $1 million for bank stabilization, and they must include some habitat. I've been working with Illinois on what that habitat would be. I said, at the minimum, we should be putting some root wads in, some vortex weirs, to create deep pools, boulder clusters, some basic habitat, in those streams. So we'll see how Illinois does with their first round of sign up after this fall. Iowa had $750,000 to work with. They got 10 contracts. They got about $366,000, and they think within a year they'll have that spent. Minnesota had a heck of a time getting money spent in Minnesota, unlike Wisconsin, where someone like myself, when I worked for the county, I had engineering approval and could do stream restoration work. In Minnesota, unless you're a licensed engineer, they're the only ones that can stamp those projects over there. So everything has to go through their area engineer who's licensed, approved. So it's been really slow. So what we've been doing is using our Lessard SAMS program and using our private engineers to get the information NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, needs to use those dollars. So we did we started a project this fall that was 2 miles long, and our NRCS contract through this program was $450,000 of that project. So.
Yeah, just a second. This is Jerry. Would you want to explain the Lessard SAMS program and tell them what that is? Because I don't think
the Lessard SAMS called the Lessard SAMS Outdoor Heritage Program, and it's the 0.5% sales tax that I was talking about that generates about $80 million a year, and all the different groups compete for these programs. Trout Unlimited does really well. because you have to have public access. You know, it has to be for habitat. And so, you know, we got public access, we got habitat, and then we're bringing in these outside dollars. So, you know, we've been real successful every year in getting so far we've gotten 13 awards, probably over 24, close to $24 million. Part of that that grant I got was to try a pilot project in Northwest Illinois, working with the Joe Davis Conservation Foundation and the, I can never remember what their name, Natural Heritage out of Rockford. Trust. I think that's right. And what they're going to do is they're going to use these farm bill dollars with some of the money they have to get conservation easements on some designated farms. One of the things we're going to try to do is, if we get this conservation easement and there happens to be a stream going through it, we're going to try to get you know, some conservation easements for angling. We'll see how it goes. We know how easements are to get it in Northwest Illinois or anywhere in Illinois, but we're going to try it. So, but they're going to use the money for conservation easements. And as you know, our streams are only as good as what our watersheds are. So I thought this was a good chance to try to see how this new Farm Bill program worked to help with upland watershed protection. So they have not signed any easements. They are just starting this program too. So we'll see how they do. So I was talking about these Farm Bill dollars, and they all go through the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And every time you do a practice, it's called a standard. So there's a standard for stream bank stabilization. There's a standard for even for the seeding, for the mulching. And right now we're reviewing all those standards at Wisconsin. Part of the reason is, you know, someone had, like in the Coon Creek watershed, that have held up for 30 years, where some of these horrific storms that we've been receiving, these 15 inches of rain, you know, some of these upper reaches have failed. So we want to look at, and Wisconsin realizes that we spend literally millions of dollars every year on our habitat projects. So they want nothing but the best to go in there, and they don't want to see failure anymore. We're going to be looking at those standards, and some of the upper reaches where we've been doing our watershed projects, like Bohemian, Roland's Coulee, and the Coulee system, that have not held up with these big rain events. You know, we're going to look at you know, what can we do different? We don't want to come back and do the same thing we did before. Now, as you go down in that watershed, like on the main stem of Timber Coulee, everything works just fine. So, you know, we don't have to throw everything out we've done, but maybe we need to create some models or do some more analysis so that we know where in these reaches we need to, you know, what we need to do different. So there's a standard called 580, stream bank stabilization. Now, we very seldom rock riprap like this anymore, all the way to the top. There's a lot of different ways you can do bank stabilization. Typically in the driftless, we pull those banks back 3 feet over to 1 feet up high, and then just rock the toe. And we don't, you can even see there's some fabric on the backside of this rock, and I don't think we've used fabric for years. But my point is, 580 stream bank stabilization is one of those standards that we're looking at to see how we can improve that. Another habitat, 395 is a wildlife habitat project, which is another one that we're going to be evaluating. That happens to be me and driving rebar in Apple River when we did that project in Apple River Canyon. So we're going to be looking at some new habitat practices too. Probably won't be using these cars, but those upper reaches, I'm hoping that we can come up with some new Farm Bill standard designs that we can get Farm Bill dollars for, to go up in those upper reaches and perform some conservation practices that we haven't done before. Maybe we're just going to go up there and shape those banks as flat as we can get, seed them, and then get out of there knowing that the next 15-inch rain we may have to come back there and do some work again. But I'm hoping we're going to come up with some new designs. So I was mentioning this earlier. So all these county and federal employees in these field offices here in Wisconsin, they have what's this so-called is this job approval to install these various habitat practices. And so they're the ones that are going to be using these standards to help us implement these stream restoration projects in Wisconsin. So we may have to be doing some trainings and so forth to get them back up to speed. Let's see. So one thing that's changed in the last, even in the last month, President Trump signed the America's Conservation Enhancement Act. I don't know if you're familiar with NAWCA, which is the North American Waterfowl Conservation Act, which provides a lot of funding for wetlands throughout the United States. But we've had a fish habitat partnership program in the United States for probably about 8 years now. In fact, the Driftless was one of the first 4 partnerships in the nation. It has not been a lot of money generating program for us. We probably get about $250,000 a year to work on various habitat projects, but it does provide up to $80,000 for administration. If we want to work with a college on research, we've used some of these dollars on our water quality app, kind of a thing. So with this American Conservation Enhancement Act happening, it's going to go from the Fish and Wildlife Service to a number of different agencies. And so I've been co-managing this with Louise Malden with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. But with this change, she'll probably be out of the picture, and Trout Unlimited will probably take over this program. And we'll want to stay with it. I think there's a possibility of getting more than $250,000 a year for projects. And we definitely could use the administrative dollars. Part of my salary, part of Duke's salary in the past, and part of Paul's salary in the past have come from these administrative dollars. So, and this will probably be another chance for our volunteer steering committee to have additional responsibilities. These fish habitat partnerships are supposed to have a steering committee that helps select the projects and makes decisions. So this will be an opportunity for our volunteer steering committee to have a little bit more responsibility. I don't know how many of you, I know, Jerry, I think you were on the list to get some of this water quality app that we're trying to implement this year.
Yes, yeah.
We
followed it pretty much.
Yeah, we kicked it off in our Driftless Symposium last year. And we were going to have this water quality app available for volunteers to help us monitor these cold water streams in the Driftless. I know Jerry was one of the ones that was signed up to get the information. We ran into some, besides the virus kind of throwing a kink and everything, the Android system worked real well, but the Apple iPhone gave us a lot of problems. Now I think they're getting most of those bugs out of it, but we really lost this whole season where we hoped we would get a lot of monitoring done. I talked to Kent Johnson today. He's a professional monitor, and we've got a contract with Kent to help deliver this program, and they're working on videos on how to do this and so forth. And he said that he was hoping to get the rest of the materials out, like to you, Jerry, in January. So hopefully this coming spring, with some additional training, people we could try to get this going again.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So this is the test kit. It does phosphorus, nitrogen. You can take pictures and upload them. But almost it's interesting. Even like that those big farm bill grants I've got, everybody wants monitoring, but nobody provides money for monitoring. So and even that fish habitat partnership program, they want to see monitoring done on your streams. So this will be one way that we can meet those grants and is by hopefully getting this program going and doing this monitoring. We typically have a bus tour every fall. We get together in one part of the Driftless and tour about, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 projects if they're close together. Of course, with the virus, we were able to do that. We are still looking into seeing do a virtual tour of some recently completed projects. I think it might really work out pretty well. We're still trying to figure out what the format will be, how we'll get the video, but we've already, we've got Paul's on Citron Creek. We've got some other volunteers that are willing to put together these videos. So what we'll probably do is create some kind of website, put the different videos up there, and then they'll be available for anybody to look at it at any time. I think it would be kind of a neat website anyway. It would be really nice to start posting all these like tours and stuff like this. And maybe, even if we start recording some of our presentations at the Driftless Symposium, we could load those things up too. So I'm hoping to work on this winter, some kind of a website, a Driftless website where we can, load up all these different presentations and so forth. So if we have any geeks out there in the crowd that really are real familiar with how to do this and have some good ideas, I'm open for ideas. Otherwise, I'll probably go to University Extension or somebody and see if somebody can help me figure out how best to create this site. But I think I like the idea that we can cut down on travel time. If we had a tour in the north part of the Driftless, it really limited, just to the people to the north in the Driftless. But this way, we can do virtual tours anywhere in the Driftless and have them available for people to look at when it's convenient for them. So I think we will get back to the bus tours. I still like, it's just like the symposium. I still like getting everybody together. They see that exchange of ideas and bridge that boundary between the different states. So we will probably get back to doing that, but I do think this winter we'll build some kind of a site where we can have these virtual tours and hopefully in the future, maybe some of our presentations that we do on the symposium. I don't know. Did you show Paul Cron's?
No, I didn't, Jeff. I didn't show Paul's Citron Creek. So that would be very nice to watch.
Let's see if this will work. Can you see that?
We can see you clicked on it.
Do you see Paul?
Nope.
You don't? Okay, that's probably it's on a different screen here.
Try and click on the link itself. Is it a live link? I'm not sure.
Let's see. You probably can hear that. So I'm probably on a different screen. I need to, let's see if I've got 3, I've got 3 screens up and this one's on my laptop. Wait a minute, here's a share thing. Let me try that. Meeting control. Not gonna.
Is there a title to it?
It was part of Field Day Fridays with Trout Unlimited. Actually, it's a YouTube. It's a YouTube video.
Yeah, it's called Field Day Friday at Citron Creek.
Yeah.
Can you just drag that over to the screen you're
That's
on?
what I was trying to do. There we go. Can you see it now?
Meeting, so
Afraid not.
I don't even know if I can do it on my computer.
Do you see that?
Do it on your iPad.
My name is Paul Cron.
No?
I'm a stream restoration specialist.
No.
Okay. I clicked it onto that.
Hey, Jerry,
Yes.
I think I could play it on my screen if you want me to.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Beautiful.
There it
Yeah.
is. Now you got it.
I am standing here on Citron Creek, located in southwestern Wisconsin in the Driftless Area. And we're just completing a project with a landowner. As most projects begin, typically in this area, a landowner is experiencing an excessive soil loss along the stream banks and is concerned about it and is seeking help. And the first step is going to the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And that's what this landowner did about 4 years ago. And he signed up for the Regional Conservation Partnership Program funds, which are specifically slated for the Driftless area, which includes Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and Iowa. And the goal is to stabilize stream banks, but also enhance the streams for fish habitat and wildlife in general. So what we're trying to accomplish here on this farm is pretty much classic for the Driftless area. We have highly eroding stream banks. These banks behind me are about 10 feet high, and they were critical when we started. And they were contributing massive amounts of sediment. There was a 1 to 2 foot soil loss per year on these banks. So what we've come in and done is stabilize the toe of these banks with rock riprap. At the same time, the soil that we are cutting back to remove to place the rock is getting hauled out of the valley. And then where appropriate on the stream, we're adding habitat, both for fish and for non-game species. These stream banks are going to be grassed. They're going to be stable. They're going to be aesthetically pleasing. This stream will become available for public fishing. So that actually adds to the local economy. You'll get fishermen coming in that before didn't have access to the stream. And by adding the additional fish habitat, the fish populations will increase 5 to 10 times.
Okay. So what we did, that was, we want to do more of those. Mark Taylor with Trout Unlimited is our communications person, and he helped us put that together. I actually filmed Paul with my camera. That was that footage, and then you took some drone footage that we did of the equipment and so forth. It's like a 2.5 minute video, and it was on Conservation Friday. I called it with Trout Unlimited. So we hope to do more of those. It would be really neat if we could figure out in-house how to put those together, but we'd like to have to do a lot more of those, and then make those, if the chapter has put money into those projects, you know, either provide them a link or a copy of it so that they can put it on their Facebook too. Let's see. There we go. Trying to maneuver around here a little bit.
Jeff, I want to mention that Citron Creek is where we put 2 stiles in with the help of Gary Borger chapter this past fall. And that although we didn't get to fish too much of Citron Creek that day, folks need to find that stream because it is a wonderful stream. There's almost a mile of stream there. And the top part of it is where the work has been done. And the 2 guys that are the Dudenbachs, Evan and Ian, are the greatest guys I've ever met out there. They're so nice people, and they were very, very helpful when we had a problem with the style. So
That's weird.
enough about them.
It's in Crawford County. One of the interesting things about the Dudenbachs, those are the landowners, but they had never, not only are they the landowners, but they were the contractors.
Yes.
Restoration work before. They bought the equipment with the idea that they would like to try to get into this. So we were able to pay them got a good deal because they were learning, but it took a lot more of Paul's time to be out there to help them, you know, figure out how to put this stuff in. So we got a job in, but we also, you know, trained another contractor on how to do some of this stuff. So we may see them more in the future. Is that screen on there now with the pollinator plants?
Yes.
Yeah, so I only got a couple more slides. One of the other things we did this summer was we spent about $5,000 and doesn't buy you a lot of seed. I think it was a 22-pound bag of seed. I took my Jeep up thinking, I was going to need help throwing the seed, $5,000 worth of seed in the back of the vehicle. And I was able to pick it up with one hand, but it was these pollinator plants, the seed is so fine. Let's see, we figured we could do several hundred acres with this seed. The idea was not to replace the seed people were putting on their projects, but to enhance those projects with additional pollinator plants. We've always tried to want to use warm season grasses on our projects, but what we have found is unless the landowner is willing to manage it, and I can think of people like Paul Hayes here on the West Fork, and a couple of landowners, it's really kind of wasting our time because we either have to mow prairies or burn prairies to keep them a vital prairie. So we've pretty much given up on prairie plants as a standard practice, but we're hoping that we can provide pollinator plants that will survive in that riparian corridor. So we did 22 projects this year. We provided seed for 22 projects. I don't quite understand my language here. I thought it was like 9 miles. I think that's supposed to be 9.2 miles, 136 acres. So this is the second year we've done this. We need to get back now and see how these pollinator plants are doing. The other exciting thing that we're hoping to get involved with is Wisconsin's water quality trading program. In Wisconsin, municipality, their treatment plant, in order for them to meet phosphorus standards, they have to upgrade their treatment plant. And upgrading a treatment plant is very expensive. For example, La Crosse is looking at upgrading their treatment plant, and to meet the new standards, they're thinking it's going to cost them $33 million. Now, one way they can meet this phosphorus standard is to work with farmers above the watershed with a stream flowing, past their treatment plant to tie up phosphorus. And one of the best ways to do that is with stream bank stabilization. For every ton of soil you tie up and stabilize, you reduce the phosphorus load by 1 pound. So Monroe County, for example, Bob McKeel up there, he's been working with Sparta, and what he does is Bob uses those farm bill dollars, and then he has the municipality pay the landowner's share, and then he also has the municipality sign a contract to maintain that project on that farmer's land, and then he gets an easement on top of it. So we're thinking this could be a way for us to get a lot of miles done. For example, just a couple days ago, I heard Gaze Mills is needing to do something with their treatment plant. Well, Tainer Creek is upstream of Gaze Mills, and we've got miles of easements on Tainer Creek. So this winter, Paul and I are going to look at where we've got easements and where we've got trout streams, and then where we've got municipalities downstream, or where we might want to approach those municipalities and get involved with this program. So like I said, Bob McKill's done a real good job up in Monroe County. He's kind of set the groundwork for us on how to do this. I think I just lost my screen. Oh. Oh,
Now we're back.
okay. So for a second there, I was afraid my grandchildren were what was happening was they put their big blocks, or their toy blocks away, and they were putting them away, which is good for them, but they happened to throw them and behind the TV where I've got all my electronics set up, and they power cord on my router. And so, we've got fiber optic out here, but I had no internet connection at all. So I was scrambling to figure out I thought you guys were having problems with your Zoom. So Jerry called me and said, hey, it's not on our end. So I ran down and plugged it in, and it took a while for it to come back. But well, it's one of the pleasures of having grandchildren. They always keep you hopping.
Well, Jeff, we're certainly glad you got back to us, and the effort was well worth it. I really enjoyed seeing those things, and I hope everybody else did. There's so much there that and those programs that it takes a long time to figure out exactly what's going on. I know from experience, but I think you explained it very well tonight, and I wish I'd seen you do this before I started getting involved with the stuff that I did with the TUDARE, because it would certainly help. So I think people who caught on, and I really look forward to the phosphorus thing. That is going to be a way to make money for stream restoration with ease, I think. And
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you can go to, especially with all the flooding we've got up here, you know, there's a lot of landowners that are interested in stabilizing their banks, but it's an expensive practice. But, you know, if we can come in there with a setup for 100%, the other interesting thing about Wisconsin's nutrient trading is they give you additional phosphorus credit benefits if you include habitat.
wow.
I wish I would have, I wish I could say I engineered that. And I really don't understand the logic of why they've done it for phosphorus, but regardless,
Yeah, good thing.
if it works to our advantage. So to me, you know, I look at a municipality of La Crosse who's got looking at a $33 million upgrade to their treatment plant, you know, and when they look at that and then you come up there with an idea of how about for 3 million, you invest in stream restoration above. I mean, I can't believe that, you know, that people aren't going to be jumping at this kind of thing. So we're going to try to take a serious look at it this winter and start doing some more projects with them. So,
Oh, good.
you know, the last slide that I got cut off here on my PowerPoint was really, you know, what can we do for the Lee Wolf chapter? I mean, obviously, you know, you have some work days up here. You do the styles. You know, we'd like to get you involved with our monitoring program. You know, you've contributed to a number of projects. You know, let me know when you get, you know, tell Jerry or whatever, but think about it and you know, what could we do better to get the Lee Wolf chapter engaged with the Driftless?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And we want to stay engaged with making our styles. We like those work days and they're fun, and it's a great excuse to get up and go fishing too.
Yeah.
Spend half the time we'd spend up there, and I know that I'd like to get more of the people that are in the chapter involved in those days, so we kind of get the work spread around and they get to see different streams, because whenever you finish a project and we come in and do styles, well, that's a great way to introduce people to the new stream, and it's always that first year on the stream is never as good as the next year or the next, when the fish really establish their presence there.
Right.
And but it's you learn, well, this is going to be where I'm going to show up next year, you know.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
and hopefully, you know, hopefully we can continue to do that and make it fun, you know, so, you know, it's not all work, but, you know, like you say, we can have some play with it, and hey, they'll never go out of style. So,
well, that'll be great, and we hope to keep it up. We just got done purchasing 44 4x6s for style. And Jerry Ward and Pete Canning and I picked them up yesterday and drug them into my basement. And they're sitting in the back of my pickup truck down there, and some of them, someone on the ground. But we're working on it, and we're going to notch those this winter with Borger's help, and we're going to be ready to go for Dutch Creek, I guess, this spring. And I'm looking forward to putting a different type of style on Bohemian that will keep calves from transmitting both ways. Instead of a swing, maybe one that does a chop and lock. And we'll see how that works out. I have some ideas, I hope.
it's really good. We'll have to patent it.
Yes. Yeah. I was surprised when the state copied our style of styles that we came up with. And I was surprised that they copied it. If I could just give Tim Fraley and the guys over there in the blue to let us do some there. They don't want those. They don't like them. They want the standard.
Oh.
Hey, Jeff,
Would
Jeff.
you be open to questions? Hi, go ahead, Ray.
Jeff, you know, you've been doing this for quite a few years, and I was wondering what your impression of the permanent conservation easement has been over the years. Has that increased or decreased the public's, participation in that?
Yeah, when I started working in Vernon County, I actually took about 27 easements for the county. I took it was called a 2020. It's what the state, the DNR was taking at the time, thinking, 20-year easement with an option for another 20. At the time, that seemed like a lifetime. Well, I've been around here too doggone long and those things are already expiring, so everybody's pretty much going to a perpetual easement. In Wisconsin, since anglers have access to that stream once they get into it anyway, I think a lot of our landowners are used to seeing people going up and down those streams. So it really hasn't been hard to acquire more easements. Minnesota's really picked up the pace on easements where they're using those Lessard-Sams dollars. Wisconsin continues to get easements. I think I had Duke do a calculation recently, and it's like 1,400 miles now of public access in the Driftless. So, when we see these horrific flooding events, and everybody wants those banks stabilized, and they realize the cost of stabilizing those banks, and if they can get an easement, get $30,000 or $40,000 for their easement, and then have somebody come in there and improve those banks for 100% at no cost to them, it's pretty popular. I think there was some concern when we start stretching out the season. We start going, instead of ending in end of September, year-round fishing and things like that. Well, and then some of the landowners were, a lot of people hunt those bottoms and stuff like that, and so I think there was some concern that the easements would really take it in the net, but there's such a demand. I think we'll continue to take easements as much as we can find funding to do so.
Hey, Jeff,
Answer to your question.
what's going on with the chicken farm thing up in Coon Valley?
Yeah, I don't know whether they're in production or not, but they did start construction, later this summer. I haven't actually. I should drive down there and see what's going on. We had another spill on Knapp Creek. I think it was just about a month ago. I don't know. I'm on the Wisconsin Natural Resources Conservation Service State Technical Committee, where they evaluate these conservation practices and decide what conservation practices should get funding. And manure storage is often one that we have a big debate on. I mean, the idea with manure storage is that the farmers can store this manure through the winter time and then apply it right before they plant. And in theory, that's pretty good. That's good. It doesn't get spread on frozen ground and so forth. But what really typically happens is that they don't have the equipment to knife this manure in, so they contract that out, and when they go to dump the septic or the pit, it happens all at once. And so a lot of times they get caught in the spring, when the ground's still frozen and we get a rain, and then we get catastrophe. So just by storing the manure doesn't mean it's going to be applied correctly, and that's been the case on a number of times. And then a Wild Rose case, it was, I don't know if you've ever seen them knife this. I mean, in theory, again, it was good. They were pumping that manure through tubes and into a thing behind the tractor that knifed it right into the ground. So, I mean, it was not spread in the air, it was not spread on the surface, it was knifed right in the ground. But you can imagine they're dragging this tube back and forth across the field. Well, the tube broke, and there's supposed to be safety guards, when the pump all of a sudden goes way up because there's no pressure at all, it's supposed to shut off. Well, it didn't. And so, again, it's the application of that stored manure that seems to get us in trouble. every year they keep wanting to put more money from the various conservation practices into manure storage. And every year I keep bringing up, that doesn't get us conservation on the ground. We need to have more safeguards to make sure it gets applied properly. So I don't know what to say other than it's a constant battle kind of a thing.
Well, Jeff, it sounds like you do an incredible, great job on restoration. Do you ever get to fish on these streams yourself?
Isn't that sad? When I took this job 12 years ago, the first day before I started, I set my car up with my rods, and stuff. And I thought, this is going to be great, man. I'm going to be out there, and at about 3 o'clock, I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to take off the afternoon and rest and fish, for a couple hours. I think I fished once this year. I think in 4 years I fished probably 4 times. It's pretty sad. I mean, I've got a lot going on here, but it's no excuse. I can fall off anyway from where I live here, and I'll be in a trout stream in 10 minutes. It's the most sad excuse you can ever think of. And I tell you, I always used to say, if I'm going to have a car accident, it's either going to the trout stream or back from it. But until I get in the water, I don't feel like I'm relaxed. But I'm always in a hurry to get into that stream, and then once I'm in the stream, I always want to go that one more bend to see what's around that next bend thing. So yeah. I do enjoy fishing, and I say every year I start out in the spring, the opening and hit the opening, and then try to, my idea is once a night. So I got to get back in that habit again. It's a fantastic area. It's just a crying shame I'm not taking more advantage of it.
Maybe we need to have some agenda for getting you out on the stream.
There you go. You used to come up and
chapter, go fish.
Smiles, then we go out and fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's neat. We've got, in fact, I was just talking to a teenager today, their dad, we have a Christmas tree farm, and the dad was out here, and I asked her if, she was into deer hunting. I asked her if she trout fished, and it's amazing when I talk to these schools and ask for a show of hands, how many students, they don't trout fish. They could, they don't have to fly fish. They could go to Walmart and get a spinning rod, for $20, and they wouldn't even need to have wading boots. They could, I used to go in my tennis shoes in the summertime. So for 15, 20 bucks, they could be fishing class trouts, these class A trout streams. We got people coming all over the Midwest to fish here. So I don't know. I don't know how we can come up behind those computers and out on these streams. I think if they tried it, they would really love it.
Yeah.
They could be guides in training for out there.
Yeah, I try to really get them excited about it. In fact, one day we had a class out there on the West Fork. We had about 20 kids from a biology class, and I have to admit, I'm not a fly fisherman. I never, not that I don't want to get into it. I sure like the action on a fly rod because I have used a fly rod, but I had just an ultralight with a spinning tackle on it. And I had 20 kids lined up on these lunkers, and I thought the chance and heck that I'm not going to catch a fish. And I threw that spinner up there, hit just where I wanted it, and pulled it back. I pulled in an 18-inch brown right in front of all those kids. It doesn't get them hooked. I don't know what, so.
Just like you planned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. Does anyone else have a question?
You got a good turnout. You usually have this many for your meetings?
Pardon me?
You got a good turnout here tonight. Do you usually have this many for your meetings?
Well, for a Zoom meeting, this is our largest Zoom meeting so far. We'll get, when we have a speaker and we're together, we got 35 or 40 people.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we get you or a Duke, there's a draw,
Okay.
We get a good load of people.
No,
Jeff, thanks a lot for doing this for us.
no problem. It's pretty easy to do it this way. I'm sorry about the technical glitch here. That's the first that's ever happened to me.
Well, it wasn't a problem, Jeff. We showed pictures and did the video on Warner, which was, thank goodness that Paul sent it to me, and then it worked out because
Okay,
I
good.
was worried it was going to show or not, and so
Yeah.
was Scott. But we tried it before, the meeting and it came through fine. So
Yeah, so we're gonna try to do more of the drone footage. I tell you, it takes me, I can fly a stream in about, in about 5-10 minutes, and we're trying to do, it's a great way to do a before and after
Oh, yeah.
of a thing. You can, you try to take a picture of a stream project before you start a project, and, with leaves and stuff like that, and you capture just a little section, and you just have a very small view of what you're trying to accomplish there. And it would be really neat to actually have two pictures side by side, a before and an after, kind of flying the stream, so you can see the improvements made, because it's drastic changes.
yeah, I did show some before and afters that Paul had sent. I showed some befores and we had a couple pictures of our styles that we put in that he sent me. And then we showed the drone footage so you could see. And I think we're all impressed by that Warner Creek and the number of twists and throwbacks there are in that stream. There's about 2 miles of stream in a mile up there, I think.
Right. If you get a chance, we made another video this summer with the Natural Resources Conservation Service in Minnesota on Trout Run. So if you Google Trout Run stream restoration Minnesota, it'll come up on YouTube, and you can see. We didn't put that together. The media for NRCS in Minnesota put it together, but they interviewed the landowners. They got drone footage. They got some still pictures. It kind of gives you the potential of what we could do with more of these projects, and I think it's a great way. I think once we've done a couple, it really won't take much time, but we gotta get a couple under our belt first.
Trout Run has a special place in my heart. That was the first place I ever got to fish for trout.
Oh,
in
really?
Minnesota, yeah.
That's a fantastic stream. I mean, it's you wouldn't know whether you're in Wisconsin or Minnesota. The streams are so similar, but if you get a chance, just look on YouTube, Trout Run Stream Restoration, Minnesota, and you'll see that video. Very nicely done.
Yeah. Our old treasurer was moved to Minnesota, and I steered him toward a couple of those streams we looked at from the bus tour. And he came back and he said, "Thank you. These are really good."
Yeah, we've got a lot of great water in the Driftless.
They do have it.
If there's any fault that was mine, was I was going to always fish new streams every year, but you find a stream that fishes well and you do well, and it's like it's hard to go to a new stream, but a person really should.
Yes, we do. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you very much for being on tonight and tell you how much we appreciate it. And it was a wonderful presentation. I think we all understand TUDARE a little bit more. And I'd like to say thank you.
My pleasure.
And I hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, this is real easy on my part. I'd be glad to give you an update anytime. It doesn't have to be a big formal presentation. I could just stop in and touch base with you.
Okay, sounds great, Jeff.
All right. You have a good night.
All right, everyone. Anybody have any
Thank you very
final
much.
comments? Questions? Okay, take us out, Scott.